My name is Max Banfield. Welcome to my talk. Today I'll be discussing the standing desk, in particular relating to the desk that I invented, which is the world's first and only one that is now being duplicated in principle all around the world. In 1975 I had a lot of health problems. Nothing showed up on x-rays, so there would have been tens of thousands of research papers being written to argue that those pains couldn't be physical, they must have a psychological cause. However, within the next 5 years, I was able to identify that leaning forward was the cause of most of those symptoms at one time or another, in particular leaning towards a desk. So I wrote an essay called The Posture Theory, after it was initially published as The Matter Framework. Now, at that time, I was unable to get anyone to publish it in a major newspaper or TV program because it was considered too radical and controversial. About 20 years later, well, what was 1980, I published that essay. About 1998, I invented the world's first standing computer desk after thousands of experiments of sitting and standing and moving and adjusting desk height, etc. And again, it was said of that essay and that idea in my published book in 1999 that it was being totally rejected by the medical authorities and that there is nothing else in the medical research literature about it. In about 2007, Wikipedia had a look at an article about my theory and said, delete, delete, speedy delete, speedy delete. This is just one guy's theory. No one else is doing anything about it. And they said it's not notable. In other words, not even worth having a page about it in Wikipedia. And they deleted it. In 2013, I had the opportunity of sending some of my essays to the British Medical Journal, and 40 of them were published in the 2 years between 2013 and 2016, in which I summarised some of those ideas. And in 2015, a group called themselves a panel of international experts, and they claimed that I'd issued the world's first guidelines on how long to sit, stand and move throughout the day. A report about a Chicago furniture trade fair showed that 4 years earlier there were only a handful of companies out of hundreds who had any concepts or any desks of the standing desk nature. And 3 years earlier, there were only 25 of those companies had standing desks. But in 2016, virtually all of them were selling standing desks. And some of them, it was their exclusive business. And as a general rule, they were claiming that they'd developed the idea, which they didn't. And in 2018, there's a report that the market value of standing desks is $6,000 million worldwide and increasing rapidly. And another guy said that he had to wait 2 weeks to start his business properly while he rushed out and took out a patent. And he called himself the founder of that desk, and his staff referred to as ergonomics consultants. Well, I'm the guy who did all the research, and I'd appreciate it if you actually sat here in front of your screen or your phone at the moment and look at the evidence of what I did. And I didn't discover this in one day. Try 40 years before I discovered most of it, 20 years before I invented the standing desk. I told you I started in 1975. No one in the world knew the cause of my health problems. By 1980, I was able to write an essay in which I said leaning forward compresses the chest to cause chest pain, the abdomen to cause abdominal pain, the lungs to cause breathing problems, etc. And this is just one of 15. It's one of 15 essays published in that general period of time. 15 essays published between about 1978 and 1983 or 4. Now, six years later, I wrote this. It's probably less than 20 pages, but you can see there my theory that sitting at a desk and leaning forward is one of the theories I wrote in that 10-year period. And this one here is actually the second edition, but it still has that same diagram, 1994. But I've been experimenting with sitting, standing and moving, and here are some of the pictures you can see in that book, if I can get in position for you, about all positions and positions of the internal anatomy, positions of the posture and so forth, and how it affects chest shape, etc. Now this was published in 1994, later that year, and you can see it's the first time I published anything about standing at a desk. And if you go through it, you'll see there's more pages. The first diagram in this book is, well, the cover speaks for itself, but it's all about posture. I sold these pamphlets to schools for $2 to encourage kids to sit up straight and to pin these on the wall so that the teachers would pin them on the wall so kids could see them. And sometimes if they bought this book, I'd give them a pamphlet as a bonus. That's so there's all these diagrams on posture and health and the way people develop health problems from the way they sit and stand. And you can see how that book progressed. And I still hadn't solved the problems to any significant extent. Didn't know at that stage that I ever would. Now I can tell you something about this book. I once toured the country towns in South Australia, the school and public libraries, and on a hot day I left these books on the back of my car, and the first books here, like this, were staple bound, if you can see that. They're all produced by computer printers, and this particular book style, the pages were glued together at the back. And as I drove from library to library and town to town, some of that glue melted. And when I opened up the books, they fell apart, so I couldn't sell them. Now this is the book where I thought that publishing it in a hardback I might get more sales. So here you can see it's a hardback book, and these are actually sewn together, these pages. And this is the posture theory, and it's the it's the 6th edition. And there may have also been a 5th edition in there somewhere. But you can see all the pages and all the diagrams and how my theory progressed from time to time. I just kept finding more and more evidence that posture was the real cause of health problems. It had been suspected, but no one had ever been able to prove it or convince anyone. This is the 5th edition. It was actually larger. And you can see here, I couldn't afford to put a cover on it with a picture, but that's the first diagram. And it's a standing desk. And if you're wondering why I'm having a bit of difficulty here, I'm doing an iMovie. I'm a medical research theorist. It's what my main activities have been. Having to produce iMovies, I've got to compete with all sorts of other people who do this sort of thing. But these are diagrams, and you'll see a lot of them are about posture and chest shape and how it affects the internal anatomy. And you can see there how different things affect a person. Oh, I've got to watch the screen here. I'll just see if I can get some more. That's the spine shape. I'll try and get it in the screen for you. But see the posture changes there and how it affects the human body. Now this is the 7th edition, and I'll try and get this book in position for you. And again, the first diagram is standing at a desk, because that was at the level of knowledge and experience I had at the time, and it wasn't working very well. And apparently, some people say other people had standing desks. Well, they just weren't getting it right. That's a child with poor posture. Just have a look at the diagrams and you'll see how posture influences chest shape. See that diagram there? So it was still quite painful for me to write these books, and you can see they're one sentence or one paragraph at a time, and then I'd go for a walk in between. Now this is the 8th edition, which was the first one to be reviewed by the editor, the vice president of Skeptics magazine, and he said that this concept had been totally rejected by modern medical authorities. No other person in the world was doing this type of research, and that was confirmed by librarians who told me that. And he said it was wrong and that the psychological theories, of course, were right, but he didn't publish his criticism until after I'd invented the standing desk. But here again is some diagrams about posture. Sorry if I'm moving the book about too much. Charles Darwin had a very bad posture, as you know, and he had the health problems I'm talking about. Work tight corsets affected a person's posture, and there you can see how pregnancy affected a woman's posture. And Howard Hughes had a very bad posture. There's an article about him. There's some more diagrams of posture. So this book eventually got to 1,000 pages, and it's all about posture and health. And as I said, no one else was doing this type of research. Here again, this is the 9th edition, and the front diagram is again somebody standing at a desk. It's actually me. But my desk was a bit more complicated than that, but I was basically standing. Now I'll try and get this book in focus again. This is a child I saw at the library, slouching forward like that. And I told the teacher, tell him to sit up straight. And you might be able to see that diagram, which I published to illustrate the point about how poor posture occurs. It doesn't occur because of depression or laziness. It occurs because of the natural circumstances of a child's upbringing. See here is another diagram of posture, and have a look on the other page. That posture. And Charles Darwin again, this book just got bigger and bigger with more and more evidence to support it. You can see more diagrams of posture. And what you're looking at there with that page is page 222. And have a look at all these pages and diagrams of posture, and the total size of this book is about 700 pages. And this is the 10th edition. And it was getting expensive, which is why libraries become reluctant to buy it. And nobody was really interested in. It was very difficult to sell. Look at the first illustration. See a person sitting at a desk, moving to standing at a platform, then standing at an angled desk, and then standing in front of a computer. And that's the one that started this sit-stand desk revolution, because that's the correct one. That's what everyone tries to duplicate with their designs. They're copying that one. It's the first one in the world that ever had any value. All the others, barely useful, including curing backache or something. They're pretty useless. But you can see here the same diagrams of the spine, how to fix the back. See if I can straighten them out. How the thick clothes you wear affects your posture. I'm just giving you the impression of how much I won't be long showing you all this, how posture occurs in most people. This whole book, I'll see if I can just find a couple of pages that I've chosen. Okay, try that one. See how I'm talking about posture and drawing about posture in great detail. Well, that's what this book is about. And it's quite a lot of pages. And that's at that stage, other people were describing the theory as nonsense. Now this is the 11th edition, and you can see the same main diagram on page 1. Is that one. That's the one that furniture companies are making in their millions nowadays. And they want you to believe they got the idea in 1 day or 2 weeks, or from some group of experts who've been doing surveys or something. There's more diagrams of posture. More diagrams of posture and how to fix the body. This book exceeded 1,000 pages eventually. So those are, that's the amount of research I did up until to the year 2000 actually, was the last of those books. I went to the universities, they weren't interested. I went to the newspapers, they wouldn't back me unless I could get university support. And the universities were still teaching their psychology students psychological course, and they said that was wrong. I could barely even try to give it away, and they were reluctant to take it. And the furniture companies were telling me nobody's interested in things like that. And I sort of humour them and say, oh, best of luck when you go down to the furniture company. Another furniture. I had to get names of other furniture companies. Everywhere I went, no one was interested. But that's where this all started. It's taken a while, and it's in the 16 years since, people have been gradually stealing that idea and claiming they did the research. And when I published essays in the British Medical Journal, I wanted my name on all these theories so people couldn't steal it. Well, my name is published in all my books, and it's published in the British Medical Journal and all sorts of newspaper letters. The editors of newspapers, they wouldn't do articles for me. They wouldn't interview me. They wouldn't publish anything. But I've got all this proof that I did it. And after those 40 essays were published, and I saw other people were claiming to be world experts, they're saying they're the world's leading authorities on the new sit-stand desk revolution, that the great standing desk debate of the last 2 years has created this interest, that the standing desk industry is booming. And it's because of me. So I stopped publishing, because I can't stop people from stealing the idea and say they did the research, from making the desk making billions of dollars profit and claiming that they're leading manufacturers who've come up with the idea because they care about the health of office workers. I was the office workers who invented it. If you're an office worker, you ought to back me, because I can tell you a lot more about your health and nobody else can. So what I want to do now is show you some of the research that I did. Now, this is just a tip of the iceberg, but this is just of some of my old research papers, right? I'll try and take a couple out. Problems with posture was criticism of my theory. I'll just go through these and pick out some. That's an article in the Australasian Nurses Journal round about the 1980s. That one is 1978. That's as far back as I was writing this. This is another article published in a magazine. I collected the number of essays and letters to editors in newspapers and kept a record of it here. And you can see that this starts off in 1982 and it goes through to 1988. I don't know if you can see that. I'm having a bit of trouble here just getting it into focus. Hope you can see it. I think I estimated at one stage I had 130 essays published, and most of them were on, practically all of them about health, and most of them were on posture and its effect on health. Now, I'll try not to have any of these fall all over the floor. This is another file. This is all old research papers that I wrote or had published. I'll see if I can just pick out a few just to show you how much research is involved in solving medical mysteries. It's not done in 2 weeks. It's not done by having a chat with a friend. It's done by real research, and I'm the real deal. Other people are just stealing from me. Here's a collection of items that I used to promote the idea that posture was important for health and that sitting at a desk was making people sick, but the newspapers weren't interested. The mainstream newspapers weren't interested. The mainstream TV, 60 Minutes, Four Corners, Today Tonight weren't interested. They said it was too controversial. And this is somebody endorsing my theory. I hope I'm not boring you with all this. But I'm just trying to give you an impression of what type of research you need to do to solve medical mysteries. You don't have any of these problems being solved in 2 weeks just by taking out a patent. That's ridiculous. That's another one. Can you see that? This was published in, it's my article, published, it was a full-page article published in the statewide newspaper. It was temporarily in existence in South Australia. The Advertiser didn't publish anything. This was published by the On-Dit newspaper, student newspaper at Adelaide University, and it says that my writing style is unusual. And the medical theories of the time were psychological theories. It says they're a bit strange, which I agree with, and that my theory was interesting, but my writing style was a bit odd. The author of that article, I thank him for writing the article, he didn't know the writing style was unusual because I had to write for 10 or 15 minutes after the pain, go for a walk, come back and write another 10 minutes until I invented the standing desk. Now, for some reason, the On-Dit student newspaper won't publish the fact that I invented this desk. And other people have the opportunity to steal everything because nobody's telling the public that I did this. This is a clearer copy of the matter of framework. That's the diagram with the explanation in that essay. And that's the third page of that essay. You can see the SA Health Commission knew about it. They were having articles and advertisements published in the same paper. This is an article about a health discovery I made, and that was published in a newspaper, The Messenger Leader, in 2015. This is an article about sitting and standing, but it doesn't give me the credit. That is the Advertiser. They all know that I wrote this theory. I won't be long and I'll get on with something more interesting. I just want to establish proof not just in the British Medical Journal, not just in my books that are in 500 libraries, but you can see the evidence for yourself. This is an article I wrote about chest pains in the Messenger Leader. And the Messenger Leader haven't told the public in recent years that I'm the reason for this sit-stand desk revolution. This is a collection of articles I wrote. I wrote a lot about medical matters in letters to the editor. This is an essay I wrote again for the Australasian Nurses Journal. Here's some more. So you can see all of these research papers. That's all I was doing for many years. This is the 40 essays I had published in the British Medical Journal between about 2013, late in 2013 to 2016. This is about the cause of lower left-sided chest pain. It's published in 11th of May 2014. Displacement of the ribs caused by postural pressure in 2014, July. The British Medical Journal, 20th of April 14, the cause of poor posture. This was published. These are the essays which I thought would stop people from stealing from me, but since then it's just all these people are stealing. It's taken off by wildfire, and they're acting as if they developed the ideas. And they had absolutely, they were the critics of me. They did nothing. The biomechanics of writing, why sitting at a desk makes people sick. That's the British Medical Journal in April 2014. Biomechanics of writing, typing and computing, and it's in relation to health. This is the posture theory published in the British Medical Journal, and that's dated March 2014, and that's 34 years after it was published in the Australasian Nurses Journal, and I've shown you that before. Trying to find something relevant to posture, because I did a lot of other things that other people are now claiming they developed the ideas and they didn't. They just copied my research. So they're essays I had published in the British Medical Journal in 2 years, and I stopped because it's a total waste of my time helping another 500 million people with their pain and disability and all sorts of problems, because I'm not even getting the credit. The discoveries I made are so valuable, other people want to get the credit for it and the profit. So as you can see, the sit-stand desk revolution that's taking off at the moment is because of my research, which goes back to 1975. And involved an enormous amount of study, enormous amount of research, and the publication of literally hundreds of articles. What I will show you now, I'll show you so that you can see them more clearly. Some of those papers I'll show you more clearly throughout this movie. But I'll also show you several reports on the statistics of 2014 to 2016. I'll just mention a couple. You know that I started where no one in the world knew the cause of these things in 1975. By 1980, I concluded leaning forward was the cause, sitting at a desk in particular. 1994, I started writing about posture and health in a book. My early essays were in the Australasian Nurses Journal. That book went on to be to the year 2000, and in 1998 I'd gradually gone from sitting to standing in front of a tall desk, to standing in front of an angled platform, to standing in front of of a computer placed in a particular position, and that's what everyone copies. In 1998 I invented it, 1999 I published it under copyright with all rights reserved. Anyone who walks into a patent office is going in there with a derivative of my theory and my design, and as such they owe me royalties. They can't say they invented it, they did the research, because that's called fraud. It's also called copyright theft. This idea that they took out a patent, therefore they own the intellectual property, is ridiculous. They're kidding themselves. That's fraud. They are publishing a derivative. They're taking a patent on a derivative, and if they want to do that, that's fine. Just pay me the royalties for every standing desk and every standing desktop. The standing desktops are designed on the bits and pieces that I added to my desk. Now, I will show you several things. The skeptics saying that the idea was totally rejected by medical authorities, that no one else in the world was doing this type of research in the year 2000. The Wikipedia saying delete, 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 speed delete. This is just one guy's theory. It's not notable. They're not interested in it. Not in 2007. A report that says in 2016 at a Chicago furniture trade show, there are only a handful of standing desks available in the hundreds of companies there. There's only a handful of people making standing desks, and they were copying me. But I'd been publishing 40 essays in the British Medical Journal. So a year later, there were 25 companies making those desks. And in 2016, every one of those furniture companies was selling standing desks, because they all became convinced from my research of the health benefits that no one else believed until I published and proved it. And along the way, a lot of people have stolen it. They want the status and prestige of being said to have done the research. They want the money and the profits that comes from using it in exchange for fees or in exchange for profits from the desk sales. And they say they care about the health and happiness of office workers. Nobody cared about my health when I was sick. They said I wasn't sick. And nobody cared about me. The fact that I'm the office workers that invented it and has helped 350 million other office workers is no one knew the cause of their health problems. And the final one I want to show you is statistics which show that in 2018, the standing desk, sit-stand desk industry, which did not exist in 1975, 1980, when I wrote the posture theory, in 1998, when I published my 1,000-page book with that as a picture, was not of any significance. Now it is a $6,000 million business. That's the market value of sales. And those furniture companies owe me royalties. And if they claim they had anything to do with the research, that's fraud. They had nothing to do with it. Peer review is not research. It's confirming what I said was correct. I did the research. Thank you for doing the peer review, but don't go around pretending that you did the research. The other thing is that statistic is fanning out, and it's going to increase and continue to increase in the future. And now you know who invented the standing computer desk and how long it took and how many experiments had to be done. And it wasn't done by walking into a patent office and taking out a patent in 2 weeks. That is ridiculous. They've done a bit of work, good. They deserve to make money out of manufacturing, good. Pay me royalties, I did the research. Thank you.